question. Okay, so let's start today. Today's topic is sampling. So let's have a reminder of how sampling is in 1D. We did it last time, but just for starting today. So let's say that you have a signal x of t, is something like that. Then the first thing that you will do is to multiply this with a train of deltas. We will call pi of t. So pi of t, let's do it green. Pi of t. Pi of t is a train of deltas that is separated. So they have area 1. This is pi of t. They have area 1 and they are separated by a sampling rate. Okay, so then when we multiply, what we will have is the same signal. Now this will be x of t, x tilde t, and x tilde will have the area will be equal to x of t at that time. Okay, so x of t, I don't know, this is ts, this is 2ts, this is 3ts. So x of t at 3ts is equal to x of delta t minus 3. Okay, good. Okay, then, so we sampled, so at this point we have Dirac's, these are Dirac's deltas, and then we will convert them into a discrete signal. So a discrete signal will be now blue, and then this axis was time, this new axis will be n, and then this will be x of n. It will have the same envelope. But now, what we have are delta Kroneker's deltas. Okay, so now these deltas are Kroneker's. And this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so now let's see that this from the point of view of the Fourier transform. So this one will have a Fourier transform that will be something like this. But tell us a joke.
Hi sir, you destroyed the guy running on time, no electricity.
Okay. We are on the college biology lesson, and the student asked teacher why we have white and blue and red cells. Because we have pictures.
¿Cuál es el colmo de un oculista? Divide en el noveno vez.
Okay, so the Fourier transform of this will be this omega, and it goes from minus omega max to omega max. And then, because of this multiplication here, what we have there is the convolution. So we will have this x tilde Fourier transform j omega. This will be a convolution between the Fourier transform of the original signal convolved with the Fourier transform of the train of deltas. And the Fourier transform of the train of deltas is another train of deltas, but now the deltas are separated at 2 pi over Ts. So we will have this copy. But then, because of the convolution, we will have another copy at 2 pi. So let's say it's here. So this is 2 pi over Ts. That is the frequency associated to the sampling. And then this point here will be omega s minus omega max. And then this point here will be omega s plus omega max. Then, yeah, and it goes from minus infinity to infinity. Okay? I'm only copying one of them, but it will go from minus infinity to infinity. Okay, so then now we go to this discrete signal. So far the frequency was continuous. So now we move to the discrete frequency, and the relationship between the two is this one. So now we are rescaling that same axis to something else that will be more or less similar. And now this omega max minus omega max plus omega max. And the relationship, this omega max can be calculated from this one by multiplying by the sampling rate. And then these 2 pi Ts goes to 2 pi. And we would have the same copy. And then pi ideally should be somewhere in between the two copies. And then now you go the one at minus 2 pi. Okay, so now this axis is omega. This is the Fourier transform. Fourier transform in the discrete domain. And yeah, so this is a summary of sampling. Okay, and then we discussed the other day. At which point we would have aliasing. So we would have aliasing. The condition for not having aliasing is that this frequency here is larger than this one. So let's write that condition. Let us do it here. So what we need is that, right, that omega max is smaller than omega s minus omega max. Or what is the same? Omega s is larger than twice omega max. And this is Nyquist condition. This one here is Nyquist condition. I think that's mostly for the summary. Any question about this summary? No? Okay, so now let's complicate a bit the thing, but the ideas will be the same, only that now everything is two-dimensional instead of one-dimensional. Okay, so what is the meaning of this slide? This slide tells us that, let's go up here. Okay, so let us do it here. So we have pi of t. And we are, let me exaggerate the thing so that we can see more easily the differences. So this is Ts. And then the Fourier transform of this is pi k omega and we have these ones that are separated. So we have train of deltas here. This is omega. And these are separated by omega s, that is equal to 2 pi divided by s. Okay, so let's now say that I'm sampling at the bigger sampling rate, not rate, pixel size or period. Okay, so now we will have pi prime and pi prime. Now the samples are more separated. So let's say that Ts prime, that is larger than Ts. So what will happen? So if these deltas are more separated in real space, in Fourier space they will become closer. This is this property that something that is wide in Fourier space, in one space, has to be compact in the other. Okay, so now if we do the Fourier transform pi prime j omega, I will have the same axis. So omega s prime now is smaller. So omega s prime, that is 2 pi divided by Ts prime, is smaller. But we will convolve still with the same Fourier transform, in the sense we will convolve either with this or with this. So and this width here doesn't change. It doesn't depend on the sampling rate. It depends only on your signal. Okay, so this width depends only on your signal. This one is the one that depends on the sampling rate of the pixel size for us. So that means that if you have bigger pixel sizes, we will increase the probability of having aliasing. And aliasing, we discussed the other day, is something that occurs at high frequency. So when you convolve with this thing and you have aliasing, what you will have is something like this. So the final Fourier transform in the discrete domain, when you have aliasing, will be something like this. So this will be 2 pi, this is omega, and then this point here is pi. So this area is the one that is aliasing. And on the other side we have the same. So we have another copy here. This is minus pi, and then this area here should be identical to that. Is the one that is aliasing. Okay, so this is called aliasing. Okay, so let's see all these ideas now in 2 dimensions. Okay, so now we understand what is the role of this slide. Okay, so here we have now this aliasing, but now in 2 dimensions. So this overlapping of the spectra. Okay, so in one dimension, we were drawing this kind of spectra that are somehow limited between some 2 frequencies. How do we represent that in 2 dimensions? Will be like this. These circles represent one of the bases of the basic units that we are repeating. Okay, so this is the spectrum. This is the spectrum of the continuous image. Okay, and it has minus omega max, plus omega max, and just for convenience, we have made in both dimensions to be the same. So if we have aliasing, then this spectra, the different copies will overlap, and this is the overlapping now in 2 dimensions. Okay, good. Then, okay, this is the the pi of t, but now in 2 dimensions. So we are multiplying the continuous image times a train of deltas, but now it is a train of deltas in 2 dimensions. And for simplicity, we have made the separation between samples to be the same. Okay, so we have made between one delta and the next in both dimensions to have a separation n, let's say. So we have the continuous image, we will multiply by the, so we have a continuous image, we will multiply by the sampling, by this train of deltas. Actually, as it is presented in the slides, it is a little bit of, it is a problem that is somehow related, but it is not exactly the same. So as it is presented in the slides, the ideas are almost the same, but it is presented as slightly different. So he is starting from the discrete signal already. So let's say that we have already a discrete signal. So if we have a discrete signal, then we may, for instance, increase the pixel size again. So let's say that I construct a new one. I don't know which color to use now. Let's say black. That will be, for instance, x of 12. Okay, so this signal will be this one. So they will be more separated. So in the black axis, this is n now. So in the black axis, I have sample 0, 1, 2, 3. But in my, so this will be, this is y, this is y. But on the same axis, I can draw x of n prime. Now I will plot n prime in the same axis. But n prime is now 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we have this extra sample. So we have this one, and we also have this one and this one. So these two problems are very much related, you see. So we have started from a discrete signal, but it is equivalent to having this problem of sampling from a continuous signal, only that if the sampling rate of x is Ts, the sampling rate of y is 2Ts. Okay, so all the reasoning we have been doing with this kind of continuous sampling, in that slide, the slides are presented as starting from discrete and subsampling a discrete signal. So the two problems are almost equivalent, okay? Only that the expressions are a little bit different. So you see, for instance, here, so now because we are sampling a discrete signal, is because we have here n instead of Ts. And here you see that the pi of t, it is not the arguments are not the continuous arguments, are the continuous coordinates, they are the discrete coordinates. But those are almost the same. Okay, so once you sample, what you will have is the input signal multiplied by this. Okay, so that will be our y of n at the end. Yeah, this is a reminder that if we are multiplying in real space, in Fourier space, we are composing. This we already know. And then what is the Fourier transform of that pi of n, pi of t? So the Fourier transform of a train of deltas is another train of deltas. And what is the location? So the location, now these are discrete, so this U and V are discrete frequencies. So if they are separated by n in real space, in Fourier space they are separated by 1 over n. And then, so this is the, so we are convolving. Let me do a representation of that. Okay, so let's try to do, so we have omega x, omega y. This is the Fourier transform. This is the Fourier transform of the signal. So let's say this. So this is a vector because we have two coordinates. This would be the equivalent of this representation where we have a maximum frequency. So this is a cone with this maximum frequency. And we will have pi here, and then minus pi on the other side. I don't want to clutter the picture. And we have deltas every 1 over n. So we have deltas. So pi, or that was our pi. We didn't have a color that make it blue, green. Okay. So let's say that we have pi. So omega x, omega y, and we have deltas every 1 over n. So we have this delta, this delta, this delta, and then this delta. The separation between all those is 1 over, let's say, that we do a subsampling by a factor 2. So it will be 1 over 2, 1 over 2. But this 1 over 2 is smaller than pi. Okay. So that means that we will convolve this thing with this one. So what we need is that this omega max is sufficiently smaller, because otherwise they will overlap. Okay, so we are convolving that. So this is the Fourier transform of the train of deltas. And then just a reminder that if you convolve anything with the delta, you have to shift that anything to the location of the delta. So if we have, this is the Fourier transform of the input image, and we have to convolve with that delta, then we have to shift it to that location. Okay. So we do the shifts. So now, because we have an infinite set of deltas, we have to copy this, the original Fourier transform infinitely many times. And these are the locations. Okay. And do we always have aliasing? Here we are representing aliasing. Do we always have aliasing? Not necessarily. It depends on what is the Fourier transform. If your original Fourier transform is very narrow, then you wouldn't have aliasing. In this example here in the slide, there is aliasing, but not necessarily. So you could have it like that. Okay, so what is the condition? What is the condition for not having aliasing? Okay, so I will make a copy of that. Let us do this. So I will have a copy of this spectrum every 1 over n. So let us do the analysis along this axis. Okay, so along that axis, we will have. Okay. So this will be the result, and this is the axis omega x, and this will be the result Fourier transform of the resizing. And okay, so I will have this copy that goes to omega max, and then this copy that is copied at 1 over n, and it goes to 1 over n minus omega max. So what is my condition? My condition is that, for not having aliasing, my condition now is that omega max is smaller than, smaller than 1 over n minus omega max. What is the same? N 1 over n has to be larger than twice omega max. That's it. So this is now our condition, and we can write it also in another way. So you can invert this one and then say n has to be smaller than 1 over 2 omega max. You can think of like this. Okay. So if this is fulfilled, I will not have aliasing. If that is not fulfilled, I will have aliasing. And yeah, so let us concentrate. Okay, so let's take this one. I will take a picture of it. So let me see. Take a picture. Okay, so now let us come to here. Bigger. And I will do a couple of copies. Okay, so now, which color to use? This one, this one. Okay, so let's say that our origin is here. Okay, so let us say that this is our origin. This is the 0, 0 frequency. Okay, and I concentrate on the area from minus pi to pi. So the area from minus pi to pi is this one. So this is from minus pi to pi. Let's say that this is our origin again. But now I concentrate on the area from 0 to 2 pi. So I concentrate on the area. Doesn't look so beautiful. This is the from 0 to pi in both directions. Okay, so now how does it look like? So if your 0 frequency is in the middle, then the area that is aliased is the high frequency one. Okay, that area away from the middle. If you are looking at this copy, the aliasing also occurs in high frequency. But now the high frequency is at the middle. See? So it depends on how you're cutting your space, your frequency. You will have deviation in the borders of your Fourier transform or in the middle of your Fourier transform. It depends on what is there. And the relationship between these two, we know it is this FFT shift. So if you take typically the FFT Fourier, so the FFT routines, they give this one. And then if you want to have this one, you have to do this FFT shift. Okay. And then with the FFT shift, you get this copy. But the Fourier transform routines gives you one, this one. Okay, so that is what is represented here. So, yeah. So either if you are looking from minus pi to pi, the aliasing occurs at the borders of your Fourier transform. Or if you are looking from 0 to 2 pi, then the aliasing occurs in the middle of the Fourier transform. It is always high frequency, only that high frequency here is at this location. And if there is no aliasing, so you make the same plots. You make the same. Now with this kind of figure. So if this is our 0 frequency, this is minus pi, and then you wouldn't have any aliasing. You see it here. And if you're looking from 0 to 2 pi, we are looking from 0 to 2 pi. We are looking from here, this area. So that would be. So these are minus pi when there is no aliasing, 0 to pi when there is no aliasing, minus pi when there is aliasing, and 0 to pi when there is aliasing. Okay, good. This is this condition that we were mentioning before. So if you want to not have aliasing, you have to filter. And I express it in this way. Okay, so this is our condition for not having aliasing. You can, instead of solving for n, you can solve for omega max. So you can solve for omega max, and then you would have omega max has to be smaller than 1/2n. So what I can do is, okay, before convolving, because I know that I will convolve this thing with this one. So before convolving, I will apply a Fourier an anti-aliasing filter. So I have my image. That is black. I have my image. Let me write it in one dimension because it's easier. Then I will convolve with an anti-aliasing filter. And this one is the one that I will, this is called the downsampling operator that we already know. So this is the one that I will do the downsampling. And this one will be my green one, this white red. So this anti-aliasing filter, this one here, what is the frequency that guarantees that there will not be any aliasing? Is the one that fulfills this condition. So I can filter this before doing the downsampling. Yeah, before doing the decimation. Let us use decimation for this operator. So let us do decimation. So before doing the decimation, I can do an anti-aliasing filter, and the whole thing together, all these, the two operations together, will be called downsampling. Okay, so my anti-aliasing filter will have an omega maximum, so will be a filter that is 1 everywhere and 0 outside. And what is this frequency here? So this frequency is 1 over 2n. And that's it. Why 1 over 2n? Because that is the frequency that guarantees that there will not be any AC. So before, and we know how to construct those filters. That is an ideal low-pass filter that we already know from previous lecture. Okay, so you can construct, let's say that this is your original Fourier transform. Now you will put a filter that is 1 over 2n in x and y, so you would have this square. You would, what is the inverse Fourier transform of that? So this is in real space. This is in Fourier space. This is in real space. Okay. So it will have some Fourier transform, equivalent Fourier transform. It is just a representation. So in the sense that this is not the true inverse Fourier transform of this one. It is just simply to indicate that if your frequency here is somehow related to 1 over 2n, the support, the spatial support, will be mostly related to n. It will have a support that is almost there. But this is compact in Fourier space, so it will have to go to infinity in real space. Okay. Actually, you know already that. So if you do in one dimension, if you have a filter that in one dimension has some cutoff frequency, you know that the Fourier transform, the inverse Fourier transform of that, so multiply goes to infinity. It's a kind of sink. I mean a kind because sink, you know, sink of x is sine of pi x, sorry, pi x divided by pi x. And this response, if this is discrete, it is sine of something. We will not enter into the arguments, but divided by another sign. So when you are in the discrete world, this is the ratio of two signs, while this is the ratio of the sine of something divided by something. So it is different. This is when you are in continuous, this is when you are in discrete world. But let's forget about these small details of what are the coefficients there. The important thing is that if this is compactly supported in Fourier space, in real space it cannot be compactly supported. The main support will come from this area, from a range of size approximately n, but it will not be just restricted to that area. Okay, but then we have a kernel. So we have a kernel with which we can convolve. Okay, so yeah, approximately. Let's say that we do a decimation by a factor 2. How y needs to be our support? Approximately 2 also. Okay, so that is the important message here. So most of the energy will come from this 2 by 2 area. Okay, so let's say that we have that original image. This is the Fourier transform. And now we will decimate by a factor 2. So decimation by a factor 2. Okay. This is again a reminder of one-D signal processing. So I don't know where we have it here. So what is the spectrum of this Y? So what is the spectrum of Y? So the spectrum of Y, if I'm doing this operation here, there are a lot of details, but let us think of, so there is a summation there, but I don't want to clutter with the small details that somehow, if you go to the details, they are important, but if you want to get the general idea, these are not so important. Okay, so this will be moment. I think it is this one. This is an expansion. Okay, so if we have used an anti-aliasing filter, so this Fourier transform before doing the decimation has already been cut. So in the omega, this is the space of the Fourier transform space of X. So it has already been cut to 1/20. Actually, this is a problem of how we are normalizing the Fourier transform. These expressions here, these expressions that we have, I don't know where. Yeah, here, they assume that the Fourier spectrum goes from -0.5 to 0.5. But we normally use this normalization where they go from -pi to pi. This is only how do you define the Fourier transform. Okay, but anyway, so it will go from -pi over 2n to pi over 2n. When you do the decimation, this one will expand. So the one, this is one, this one is back. So this operation here, this one, will make that these two frequencies are multiplied by n. So they are multiplied by n. So actually, they are multiplied by n. This is -5. Forget about that. So they're multiplied by n. So now the new, let us call it prime. So now the new Fourier transform will go from -5 to pi. And this is the same as this one that has been expanded by a factor n. And then we would have the replicas, okay? And here again, we would have the replicas every to pi. So, if you look at these two figures, it is as if we had a Fourier transform originally. Pi. Then we have focused in the area from -pi n. This is X. And now, so this is this area here. And now, after the decimation, that area expands to the -pi. So now in the new axis, this is the omega axis, and this is the omega prime axis. So it goes from -pi to pi. But now it is occupied only by that area. This area here is the same as all this area here. So it is as if now we are cutting the linear Fourier transform and concentrated in this area that has size from minus pi n to pi n. That is what we are doing here. This is our full Fourier transform, and we will concentrate in this area. Okay, good. So let us see. Okay, then we had, before doing the decimation, we had an anti-aliasing filter. And we said our anti-aliasing filter will be such that in these dimensions, they have frequencies 1 over 2n. So outside the area that I will crop, so I will crop this area and expand it to minus pi pi. So outside the area, before doing the decimation, I have to set it to 0. That is my anti-aliasing filter. Let's do that. So before the decimation, we set to 0 all the values outside, and now so this is the equivalent of this. This is the equivalent of this low pass filter. So we have this area that remains, and everything else is set to 0. And now you can safely do the decimation. And okay, so what is the problem with this setting to 0? But well, we know that this Fourier transform is transform of an ideal low pass filter that we had it somewhere here down. Down. Yeah, this one. So these ideal low pass filters, they have ringing. And we know that ringing are not good in imaging. So instead of putting just an ideal low pass filter, we can put a Gaussian low pass filter. But we know that they don't have a ringing. Which low pass filter? So we have to design a Gaussian such that most of the Gaussian fits inside this area. We know that the Gaussian never goes to 0. So there will be a little bit of aliasing, but not so much. And what are the sigmas for those Gaussians? So if you are doing a downsampling by factor 2, then this sigma, that is number of rows, number of columns divided by 4 is good. So it will, most of the energy will come from this area. You are already somehow damping too much these corners that should be kept, but you will not have ringing. So again, here you can be very creative. What is the filter that I designed for my problem? And here you have the result. So now you multiply your Fourier transform by this Gaussian, and it is a little bit of blurring. And now you decimate, and just for display, we are magnifying and enlarging the image again at the same size. So, but now we don't see. Do you remember that at the beginning we had some funny pattern here in on the front of the train? So when we were doing the decimation without the anti-aliasing filter, this one was the decimation. We had a funny pattern at the front of the train, and this was caused by the aliasing. But now, because we have put an anti-aliasing filter, we don't have that funny pattern again. We don't have the details, but that is normal. We have cropped a lot of the frequencies. We have removed all these frequencies. So we cannot have the same level of details. But we don't have funny patterns. We don't have aliasing. Okay, so yeah, time to make a break. So we know there is a little bit of aliasing because we have used. Oh, okay. We know that there is a little bit of aliasing because this Gaussian never goes to zero. But okay. Then let's see what if I use a different Gaussian filter. So now my previous Gaussian filter had this sigma that was number of rows divided by 4. So now let's divide it by 2. So now my Gaussian will be wider in Fourier space. And in principle, I would be keeping these corners now that I was missing before. So almost down to 0 before. Okay, so if we do that, we keep better results. So we better in the sense we see more details. We are keeping now the corner. We are keeping now the corners, but we know that there is aliasing because this filter doesn't set to 0 everything outside. It is dampening, but it is not set to 0. So again, there is a lot of research that you can do here. What is the best filter to do this downsampling that better keeps the details, and here you have the result for the ideal filter, which is for me it is the best, except for the ringing. That the ringing only occurs if you have very sharp edges. Here you have some of this ringing here that probably you cannot see from the distance, but if you look at the slides on your computer, you would see kind of ringing on the part. Okay, yeah, different possibilities. So this is ideal filter compared to original. So you can see it is the one that better preserves this area. And then you have here original versus the Gaussian, the small Gaussian, and then the original with the large Gaussian. And here you have a little bit of aliasing already. You see the funny pattern. Okay. And here you have without any anti-aliasing filter. The one with just decimation, it is a terrible result. Okay, so then if we do decimation without any anti-aliasing, these ones in which there is a little bit of aliasing. Okay, so what are the regions that will be aliased? And this is the analysis that we will do next. Okay, and I think the way it is presented here with the torus and all that is a little bit confusing. So let me do it. Let me do it here. Okay. So let us look at this Fourier transform. This is the Fourier transform of the original image. We'll need more space. Maybe smaller. Okay, so we have here the frequency axis. So this is omega x, omega y. And now let us represent the original Fourier transform. So let's say that the original Fourier transform is this one. And we will divide this one into smaller pieces. And we will call, let me number them in the same way as in the slide. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 goes there. So it is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is the central. This is the central copy. But we have other copies.
So let us let us look at the other copies. So we have this other copy here that will have the same subdivision. So this point is 2 pi to pi. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. And we have another copy here. This point is minus 2 pi. We will have the same subdivision. Now we have another one here. So we have another one here. We have only one missing, that is the one here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This one should be from me, and 16. Okay, now let's look at this operation. This operation here. When we do the decimation, this one. When we do the decimation, the frequencies will expand. Okay? And they will be expanded by a factor n. So let's do an expansion by a factor 2. So now this one will expand by a factor 2. So now let's make them smaller so that we can see. Start here. So they will expand by a factor 2. So they will occupy the full minus pi region. Okay, and this will be the distribution 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now let us look at this one. So this one will also expand by a factor 2. So now these 10 and 11 will go on top of 1 and 4. You see? So this will have now a copy from 10 and 11 from the right copy. And this will also expand by a factor 2. So 5 and 16, they will also go here. And then this will expand by a factor 2. So we will have here 13 and 14. Yeah, there will be another one coming from this side, or from this side, or from this side. And now if you count, so you see that the pieces start to overlap. And now, if you annotate which are the ones that are summed together, these are the pieces. Okay? So this is the final result. When you expand everything, these are the ones that are overlapping. So we have the basic copy, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then we have the extra copies coming from the nearby regions. And that is why you want, before doing the decimation, you want all these areas to be 0. Because the decimation will expand the frequencies. So you want all of these pieces to be 0, such that when they expand, you will always get this. But all these 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on pieces, they are all 0. And then you are adding zeros on top of your central copy. Okay. And this can be explained also with a torus and all that. But I think the explanation with the torus is more difficult to follow. So, yeah. So, always, as a summary of this part, you may want to change your sampling rate. This is fine. So you may want to change. You may want to change for a fine from a fine sampling to a larger sampling. You may not need so many details, so many pixels. But if you will do a change of sampling by a factor n, make sure that you, what is it? Yes. Make sure that you do first an integration filter, always. Because otherwise, all the extra copies will get into your copy, into your central copy, and you will have aliasing. So probably this is similar to what you already know from 1D sequence, but I think it is a little bit more complicated here because you have to keep track of all these copies that get into the central copy and so on. So in one dimension it is simpler because you have only one from the right, one from the left, and it is simpler to track. Now it is more difficult to track. But this representation here, this one here, would be the same, would be the equivalent, but now in 2 dimensions. Or this one, where we have the aliasing. This one here, in which you're having aliasing. Would be the equivalent, only that you have to keep track of more pieces. And in 3 dimensions, you have to keep track even of more pieces, but the concept is the same. Any question? No? Okay, then. We have seen the concept of aliasing and how this is related to the pixel size and so on. And we have seen changes of pixel size by integer factors. So we do a change, a decimation by factor 2, by factor 3, by factor whatever. What if we do now arbitrary changes in the pixel size? So now the relationship between the TS and TS prime, before we had something like TS prime is twice or 3 times or 4 times TS. So now let's have 1.5 or 1.1 times TS. So we can have an arbitrary factor of the original pixel size. And that is called in general resizing. Okay, so we will change the pixel size. And then we will introduce a technique that is interpolation. So probably you will already know interpolation. So interpolation is the following problem. So let's say that you have the signal. So you have this signal in the continuum. But you don't know the continuum. What you know are samples of this signal. So you know these samples. And now you wonder, okay, so I know my signal at time TS, 2TS, 3TS, minus TS. So I know that my signal at these points, but I wonder what is the value of this signal here? You don't know. So there is a possibility that says, okay, this point is closer, so I'm looking at what is the x of t at time t prime. Okay, t prime is close to 0, so I will say it is the same value. So that would be a possibility. You could say, okay, x at t prime is approximately equal to x of 0, because it is close to 0. If it is closer to ts, then you would say x of t prime is approximately equal to x of 1. Okay? X of 1. X of x of 0, x of 1. Okay, but this would be something that is called nearest neighbor. Nearest neighbor. Nearest neighbor interpolation. And sometimes it is good, and sometimes it is okay. You see, so for instance, in this particular case, it is rather close, but there could be cases in which it is not so close. Another possibility would be, okay, I will approximate this by line, and then I will evaluate this line at this point, and this will be my estimate. And then my new one, x of t prime, would be the middle point between those two. I don't want to write the formula now. And that is called linear interpolation. Linear interpolation. So you approximate by a line, and then you evaluate that line at the middle point. And so we will follow this kind of reasons now. Okay, so you have samples of the signal, and you want to evaluate the original continuous signal that you don't have anymore, because all you have are the samples. But you want to evaluate them at distinct times that you don't have in your computer. You have to invent what was there. Okay, so let's do that. And now you see the names. So this is nearest neighbor interpolation, and you already guess more or less what we will do. Bilinear interpolation. So B is coming from, we are in 2 dimensions, so instead of approximating by a line, I will approximate by 2 lines. And B cubic interpolation, we will have more. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with nearest neighbor interpolation. Okay, so let's say that we start with a small image and we want to enlarge it to a big image. So that is the equivalent of I have samples. So I have this sample. So this is the original image that I never have. All I have are samples of it. All I have are samples of these. But then I want to have a final sample. So I would like, this is what I try to achieve. I will never succeed in. So I would like to have something that whose sampling rate is 3 times smaller. Or 4 times smaller. 4. So you have 3 extra samples in between. So we would like to achieve that. So this is an approximation. So nearest neighbor interpolation could proceed in the following way. Okay, so now let us see some, let's say, now we have this axis here. So we are working with images. So So let's say that these are instead of time that are seconds, these are meters. Okay, so this one is meter. This one is something that depends on something that has units of meters. And my original image had 2 meters, let's say. So it had 2 meters. And I had the sample at 0, at 1, and at 2. And I worked. So the new image will cover the same area. So it will also have 2 meters. But now the pixel size will be 2 meters divided by 4. So this one will be 1 divided by 4. While before, this one, the separation, was 1. Okay, so I'm going from this pixel size to this pixel size, but the area that is covered is the same. Okay, so I have my original samples. So in the new space, I can start with an empty canvas, and then take the first pixel, put it at 0, 0, and then take the second pixel. The separation before was 1 meter. So I can put it at 1 meter, and then leave all the spaces in between because I don't know what the samples are in those locations. And you repeat this process for all pixels. So you have these pixels here that are black and white are coming from the original ones. Those are the ones that you know. Those are the blue ones. Those blue ones that you know. Okay, what to do in the middle? This is just assuming of that. Okay, what to do in the middle? So in the middle, what I will do is nearest neighbor interpolation. Nearest neighbor interpolation is you look for the one that is closer to you. And you can do it in 2 ways. Okay, so let's look at this figure again. So how did I decide that this T prime, the right sample was 0? Okay, so I have to take T prime. So I have to take T prime divided by the sample rate, and that would give me the sample that it is. Okay, so for instance here, this one is 0 divided by TS is 0. This one here is TS divided by TS, which is 1. So if I want to take this sample, I have to take index 1 from the discrete signal. But if I take this T prime, I will get something like it is not 0, it is not 1, it is somewhere in between, let's say 1/3. So this 1/3, I don't have it. So I have to round it to something. And now you already know different rounding operations. We have this one that is rounding to the closest integer. We have this one that is rounding down. We have this one that is rounding up. So we have to round that in some way. So the one that is in the slide is this one. It's rounding down. Okay. So whenever you have a location, you divide by the pixel size, and then you round it down. So that means that all these pixels in between these 2 samples, they will be rounded to the one on the left. So you are taking the sample on the left, and it is the same for everyone. Okay? So all these pixels here, they are rounding to the left, and in this direction is to the up. And the same here. Okay, so you see, this pixel is coming from one of these ones, and then all these pixels are taken from the one on the left and upward. And the same for all of them. Okay, so the idea is that when you have to, this is the key idea of nearest neighbor interpolation. This is nearest neighbor. Nearest in some sense. So the sense is given by this. So how you're rounding. And the one in the slide is this one. I would say that rounding up or down it would be a better choice. So you would have a smaller error. But yeah, you have to round somehow. Okay, so yeah, but so this is something very easy. And what if I'm going in the other direction? What if now I start with a big image and I want to produce a small one whose pixel size is an integer time, like 2, 3, 4 times the original pixel size. So now we know the solution. It is this decimation. But decimation, you already know from the previous lecture that it has problems. We have to take care before with the anti-aliasing filter and so on. Okay, so I would take my input image and apply the decimation. So it is simply sample at these locations. Yeah, so those are the pixels that I want to feed, and I put them all together in my output image. So now we have already expanded our previous concept. So in the previous lecture, we were always going from a given sampling rate to something that was bigger. So the new pixel size had to be larger than the other one. Now we have generalized that a bit. So we can, so we can do it bigger or smaller. So now all I need to do, so this TS, so whenever you want to evaluate a T prime, you divide by TS. TS are the samples that you know. You divide by TS, approximate it to an integer, and the new TS prime can be larger or smaller than the original TS. Okay. Yeah, but we know already that this is not the best way because of the aliasing and so on. Okay, good. Then let's see some examples. So let's say that we want now to resize by a factor that is not integer. So we know already how to resample by an integer factor, by a factor 2, 3, 4. But now let's say that I want to multiply by, change my pixel size by a ratio, rational, so like 3/7. How can I do that? Okay, so let's take the original image and then let's divide them in pieces of 7 times 7, and 7 times 7 because the factor between the two pixel sizes is 3/7. So you divide in pieces of 7 by 7. And now in those pieces of 7 by 7, you have to take 3 samples that are more or less equally spaced. And more or less equally spaced would be this distribution. Okay, so this could be a way to do that. We already see a problem in it, but let us discuss this problem later. Okay, so this could be a sensible procedure. So now you take those pixels and you put them together. And you put them together and form a new image. Now your new image would be formed by these pixels coming from those locations. And this would be, so this is the original image, and this is the nearest neighbor interpolated one with a factor of 3/7. So now we are much more free. So we can have integer factors between sampling rates, or we can have non-integer factors. Okay, can already imagine that this is not the best way to do that, but like this very easy way. And what if I want to do the opposite? So I want to enlarge by a factor that is also rational. So this 7/3 is a little bit larger than 2. So instead of upsampling by a factor 2, I want to upsample by a factor that is a little bit larger than 2. Then it will be kind of similar. So you have to take details from the input image, or you have to take the pixels in the input image that are distributed in a 3x3 block, and then you will spread them in a 7x7 block in the output. And this would be the distribution. So it is kind of the similar distribution that we had before, this one. So now this big image is the output, not the input. So this would be the 7x7 at the output, and we already know how to fill this 3x3 sub-block. And what about the values in between? Okay, we already know the trick. We can simply approximate by the nearest neighbor. So if you want to fill this value, you simply copy the one on the left. If you want to fill this value, you copy this one. And if you want to, I'm sorry. Right. And if you want to fill all these values, you could take this one here. Okay, so this is the nearest neighbor interpolation. Okay, so now we have reductions, image reductions by rational factors. We have enlargements by rational factors too. And this would be, okay, so this is the original image and this is the resized image that now is bigger. Okay, so what is the problem? Yeah, this is this formalization of what I have said. We will come back to here now. Okay, so what is the problem that we see? That this pattern is not kind of homogeneous. So there are samples that are separated, let's say, of the reduction. So when you are reducing, there are samples in the output that are separated by 1 pixel, while some other samples are separated by 2 pixels. So this non-uniformity is somehow discussed. We will solve that later when we see the next interpolation technique. Then these scalings. Okay, so let us move to somewhere else. So let us say that I have an image I. So I have an image I of R and C, and it has so those are real numbers of R times C. So I have R rows, C columns, and I want to produce a new one, J prime, J, that has another set of coordinates, and in general, this will have R prime, C prime columns and rows and columns. Okay, what is the relationship between the two? This you already know. So let's think in one dimension. So if we want a 1D signal, you want to, so you have a 1D signal that is whatever it is. And you want to enlarge it or compress it, that is what we are doing with our images. How do you express that? So you say y of t is x by some scaling factor a. If a is larger than 1, then that is a compression. That is a compression. It's a compression. So y will be a compressed version of x. And if a is smaller than 1, it will be an expansion. So this will be larger. So there must be some kind of similar relationship between the two. So what we can say is, okay, so let's copy that. We will say, okay, j of r prime c prime will be equal to a factor a or a factor we call it factor s, I think. It's using s. So that will be a factor for the rows, r prime, and a factor for the columns. But they have the same structure as this one. So it is the coordinate multiplied by factors. And this scalar factor, if it is larger than 1, will reduce the image. If it is smaller than 1, will enlarge the image. And what is this factor? This is very easy. So this factor here is simply, so ask SR will be R prime divided by R. And this one, SC will be C prime divided by C. So now, let's say that R prime, no, it is the opposite. The primes go down. Okay, so the primes are at the bottom. So the primes go down. Okay, so let's see how they work. Okay, so let's say that I'm reducing my image. So if I'm reducing my image, then R prime will be smaller than R. And this ratio will be larger than 1. And if it is larger than 1, it's a compression. It goes in the right way. Let's say that I'm enlarging the image. If I'm enlarging the image, R prime will be smaller, will be larger than R. So then this ratio will be smaller than 1. If it is smaller than 1, it is an expansion. So it goes in the right direction. Okay, so then let's look at this equation. Let's look at this equation. What is it telling us? Okay, it tells you. Okay, so let's say that you want to know what is the value of J at R prime C prime. You want to know that value. Okay, then you have to compute something that in the space of the input image I has this coordinate. So it has the coordinate R equal S R prime, C equal SC C prime. And in general, this will be non-integer values, right? So R prime, C prime will be integer. So you want to know the image J, the location 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, to 2, to 3, whatever. But when you multiply by the scaling factor, it is not any longer an integer value. So it will be 2.1 or 1.75. And you would like to know that image at this non-integer location, but you don't have non-integer locations. So now, what we will do is to approximate this by sample, because we are in nearest neighbor interpolation. We will round down And now you evaluate I at that location. And that is the value that goes there. You see? Oh, it changed by example. Okay, so this is what is explained here. This is a little bit convoluted. And yeah, and he has called this one, all this thing, he has called it R fractional. And all this thing here is C fractional. So all this thing here is C fractional. But okay, otherwise that I have explained is what is here. And there are small details, but we don't care about this -1 here. So this -1 is, if you forget about it, you see that we have the same structure, R divided by R prime. The reason for this -1 is that what happens with the last sample. So is the last sample included or not in the interpolation and so on. But let's forget about this last sample. I think it is much more important to go to the whole concept. But you see the same structure, so you compute the scaling factors. You will have a way to translate coordinates from J to coordinates in I. And this way to convert coordinates is by multiplying by a scalar factor. And this loop here is the same. You have to loop over all pixels in J. For each pixel in J, you will compute the fractional corresponding pixel. You will round it, and then you will fill the output image with the input value at that rounding point. Okay, so yeah, so let's say that this is the input image, this nearest neighbor, and then those are the points for which we know the values. So this would be our blue samples here. And then because of the scaling, so let's say that we are reducing our image. So if we are reducing our image, the scaling, so we are reducing. So we are reducing, and what is the scaling factor? Here. So we are reducing, so the scaling will be larger than 1, because R prime is smaller than R. So our samples in the output will be a little bit more separated. So the separation between two output samples is not exactly 1, it is a little bit larger than 1. You see, so here is the exact 1 separation, and here they are a little bit more separated. And we want to interpolate at these points, and we already know how to interpolate. I simply have to take that coordinate, round it, and then take the value from the input that I have from there. And this is the opposite. This is if we are enlarging the image, and now we are enlarging the images, we have to interpolate at these points, and we already know how to do that. So you take this point and you round it, and then you take the input value, the image of the value of the input image at that coordinate, rounded one. And then this, this -1 comes from this fact. What happens with the very last column? But we don't care about this very last column. Okay, so that is fixed with the R-1. But we don't care about that. So the important part of this is R divided by R prime. This is an example of how the process goes, but I think it's obscuring more the concept that clarifying. So all these slides we can speak. The main result is this one. The main result is this one. So you have these scaling factors, and then you follow this procedure. So you want to know the value of the output at some coordinate, at this integer. Then you compute some fractional coordinates according to your transformation. The transformation is this one. And then you round it, and the rounding is because you are using nearest neighbor interpolation. And then you evaluate the input at that integer point. Okay, so this is the procedure. Okay, then all these are okay. All this is fine, but I think it obfuscates the whole concept. So it is too little details that we don't care about them now. Any question about this process? No? So then we are done with nearest neighbor interpolation, and tomorrow we will continue, or tomorrow, the following day, we will continue with bilinear interpolation. So for tomorrow we have the paper of Mikanusa, and we will discuss it together in class. And then on Wednesday we have practice, and that's it. If tomorrow we finish with PAN, we will continue with the theory. Okay, good.